What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. Link will be in the description box below. As usual, go get it. PayPal link is in the description box. Also, they asked me to put it up. I put it up. But this video is entitled We're Living Longer and Dying Younger. I was talking to a family member earlier today, and I was like, you notice that I think people are gonna live longer than they used to. And they were like, yeah, I think so too. Because in the decades prior, when you took care of yourself, you looked like you was on a decline in your 30s. Now you see people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who don't look like people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s decades prior. And it has a lot to do with advancements in food, and it has a lot to do with people taking exercise actually more seriously. And I'm starting to see people who age very well. A lot more people who age very well. And you can see the difference because there are people who did the things that people in the past have done. You can have two people the very same age, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, look completely different. Completely different. So here's the thing. And I said, and also I was like, the people are dying extremely young. And part of that has to do with mental health issues or addictions or people or this culture of it's not gluttony. It's not gluttony. It's not greed. It's self. It's like self-mutilation type of culture where the tattoos and the drinking and the drugs and just the alcoholism seems to be at a higher peak, at a higher rate than it was back in the day, because people can get their hands on more and more stuff. And the self-destructive nature of people is getting fed at an all-time high. There used to be a culture where the 80s culture, the 70s and 60s drug culture, where it was okay to do this stuff out in the open, but overdosing wasn't okay. But now people are just doing too much. Like, doing too much is a good thing. Oversexing yourself into the point where you get diseases that kill you is not a problem. Doing so many drugs that you shut your body down at a young age is not a problem. You know what I'm saying? Drinking your liver into cirrhosis. Well, I'm saying that while I got a glass of Hennessy in my hand. That's stupid, but don't mind that. Is saying a lot. But back to the beginning part of the topic. I'm not a big drinker. Not really a smoker. I smoke cigars from time to time. But I've noticed that compared to people in the past, when I look at the drinkers in the past and the people who drink every now and then now, you see the age difference. Smokers, you see the age difference. I learned that at a very early age. When I see the people who work out versus the people who don't work out, you see the age difference. They could be the same age, but they look completely different is what I mean. Body types are different, right? Health issues. Because I see far more obese people in 2018 than I've ever seen in my life. And this is what I mean by, people are living longer and dying younger, because I think one of the most telling factors to the longevity of your life is going to be your weight. And most people who I see who are who maintain a healthy weight live longer, and most people I know who are overweight live shorter lifespans. And in a society where food is abundant and overeating is okay, and food is a form of addiction where you can mask your pain if you're not a alcoholic or a drug addict. You can be addicted to food, and that's okay, and that can kill you. Nobody says anything if you eat yourself to death. And I've seen more obese children. This is why I say, I've seen more young looking elderly people, and at the very same time I've seen the increase of young looking elderly people at the same time as I've seen the increase of young obese children. I've seen more people who are older who are able to weather the storms and the stresses of life and be more centered and peaceful and stress-free, age gracefully because life didn't beat them down. And I've seen younger people who mentally distraught all over the place and self-destructive because they can't handle the pressures of life, But in the middle of this, looking at myself, I can get on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and see people in my age group who are in my age group who I'm like, we the same age though. Like, why do you look like a grandparent already? And then I was talking to somebody else like, well, you take care of yourself better than most people. And I'm thinking to myself, but I'm not doing that much. Like tonight, I had this little drink, but drunk a lot of water today. Ate a little bit of candy, but for dinner I ate some baked snapper, green beans, fresh green beans, and red potatoes. Baked it together. That's how I eat. Even if I'm the king of chicken sandwiches, I'm not going to eat junk food 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. If I eat junk food like that, I'm going to eat salad probably the next 2 days, or some kind of more vegetarian-based dish, some rice and beans, or beans and rice, rather. I'm from New Orleans, beans and rice, But things like, that, not as much beef. I really don't eat beef like that. I don't eat pork at all. But here's the thing. I see these young kids overdosing. I see these young kids ready to die, being violent in a time where, like, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s where people actually were violent and it was for a reason. And now it seems like these kids are just trying to be violent to be like, I could have survived back then. No, you couldn't. You too soft, yo. No disrespect to you. And I wouldn't want you to be in that situation where you would. But I see a lot of young kids trying to prove how hard they are, willing to die at an early age. Now, when I was younger, I saw that same thing. But I think the difference was, these kids now don't have to aren't even in the neighborhoods or in the circumstances a lot of times. They're just taking on these personas and trying to live with them, and they're just not built for it. So they're dying at an early age from the mental stress of living a life that they that they can't handle. And I think people are dying at an early age from mental illness and stress because they're making decisions that they can't, that the weight of the consequences is crushing them, and is crushing them to an early grave. Also, money. the way money has people stressed out now, either you got it or you don't. But the problem is, if you're middle class, if you keep a healthy lifestyle, you can live long enough to learn skills to make you rich. And I think that when somebody thinks long term, helps people out to live longer. And the other thing is purpose. I think people are living longer because they have more of a purpose than they did. Like, I think you didn't have to be great for a long period, an extended period of time to be great back in the day. Now you have to be great for an extended period of time, and even more so then. But and what I mean by that is, people dump greatness on people so easily nowadays that their runs are so short. But because their runs are so short, you have to find a new purpose to be great at, because everything is fast food. So the people who can be great at multiple different purposes live longer, they have more to prepare for, they're more multifaceted, so they age better. Because I think when you've ran your course of purpose, you're ready to die. And a lot of times, some people are ready to die at an early age because they feel like their purpose is done, because they don't have any idea of a new purpose to have. Or they may have picked a purpose and it failed and they just quitting on life. So I'm taking this in different aspects, because to me right now, I think people are going to be living longer while they're dying younger. Because in the middle of all this, there's a lack of mentorship. So I think it's really across the board, everybody is out for self now. Everybody's thrown out to the wolves. It's not like you are protected by an older generation and older generations who went to bat for you. So that stress wore them down and wore them out, I think, because nobody really cares about family or legacy as much as they used to. You're free to be completely free during the times where you were normally had a patriarchal or matriarchal role. And that freedom may give you a little more longevity in life and less stress. But at the same time, when people are younger than you, it gives them more stress and lack of longevity, because they're out here with some real wolves that know a whole lot of information that they don't. So a lot of people are getting put in binds that they just, in some ways, they can't see themselves working themselves out. This is why, look at the college debt from now that people accumulate now as far as what it was 30 years ago. That is two completely different worlds, and the cost of living, So I think we're going to be living in an interesting time, and people are, capitalizing off of being able to live longer and look younger, and people are capitalizing off of people living shorter lifespans and dying younger at the same time. So it's like, it's like a weird culling of society, and it's like every man for himself, and this is really dog eat dog now. And you see some people destroying themselves because they can't really handle this mentality. So I'm out. Peace.